Why? As I was coming in, I thought Rajeshwar Upadhyay, where are you Rajeshwar? Then he's at the back, was going to be one of the speakers. And I was just hoping that I wouldn't be after him, having heard him a few times now. Then I come in here and I discover that I'm after Arun Baku. So that didn't help my cause one bit. And then I heard Prakash, who I'd never heard before, and you were really fascinating, Prakash. And then went through Arun's talk and realized what a dry subject I have to talk about. After all that leadership talk and the humor and the very enlightening way the gentleman spoke, I have this dry, very operational subject to talk about. So I'll do my best, but you will bear with me, and offline then we'll take up all the interesting part of the discussion. Is there some issue with this mic? I'm okay? Okay, great. So Sujay already did the show of hands that I was planning to do. So I wouldn't be preaching to the choir and talking about the basics of assessment centers. So let's skip that. But let's get one thing going so that we're all on the same plane on what assessments are all about. We know that they are standardized ways of evaluating behavior, right? With multiple inputs. What's multiple? Multiple participants, of course. Multiple competencies that you are dealing with. Multiple assessment methods or tools. Multiple trained assessors, and finally, with the multiple sources of data, an integrated process which gives you a considered judgment of the competencies. So that's fundamentally what assessment centers are. I won't bore you with the details of where assessment centers started and the predecessor to CIA in the US that used them at World War II, and before that Germany in World War I. Of course, all good technical development must first be born in Germany, so that was true with our field as well, besides cars. So let's get to really what the subject at hand is, what organizations should do and should not do. So I'm using my own limited experience that I have with clients across the country and outside, and some of the learnings that we have had with them in terms of, like Sujay said in the morning, failures. A lot of things go wrong despite us being consulting firms, working with clients. We make mistakes, clients make mistakes, and I think this session today is really a culmination of learnings that we have derived from perhaps only the mistakes that we've made and less so the things that we've done right. So hopefully more of the right things as we go forward. Once again, I'm not a great orator, so I was thinking, how do I hide behind not being able to make this really nice, powerful speech like some of these guys would? So all consultants are good at what? Can anybody guess? Making? Others work, yes. And making presentations. Making models is a variant of that. So needless to say, I had to make a model and give a structure to what it is that I have to say. Jokes apart, one of the reasons also was that in this format I need to leave behind with you a summarized thought process on really the crux of the matter. So I broke it into three parts firstly, right? The pre-assessment centers for leadership potential process, the during part of it, and the post part of it. Okay? So first the three groups. Each of these three groups have my three gems sitting in there. So my pre has what I call the three C's, my during has what I call the three P's, and my post has what I call my three D's. Okay? And they're really the diamonds, the last three. So let's deal with the pre part of, and I have no slides by the way, so you can continue looking at me, nothing will come up. So the three pre part of it, the three C's. The first one, this is actually the most important really, and where I find we have failed a lot with clients sometimes, which is clarify the entire thought process. What is it that we have set out to do? Why are we going to do it? What do we really want to achieve out of it? And how are we going to do it? This clarification, this thinking is what organizations sometimes don't do, basic as it may seem at this point in time. So the thought process often goes, let's do development centers this year and identify our leadership potential. And okay, so since that's what we have decided, let's call a consulting firm to do that. Whoever that may be, it doesn't matter. And then the process takes off and consulting firm will take over and create a design and run it and all of that. What got shortchanged in this whole process was the thinking within the organization and the buy-in from line managers to say what is it that we have set out to do and what outcome do I want at the end of it. Because later when I finish the process, we talk about these outcomes. How do I close the loop? I can't close the loop. It's just an activity that I've done without having clarified what is it that we want to set out to achieve. Once we've got our clarity in place, that's the second C now, which is communication. You can't possibly overdo the communication. Every single time we find when we run assessment centers, participants are nervous, they are worried, they don't know how the data is going to be used, what is the application going to be, who has access to that data in the organization. They're petrified of every HR person they come across because they know inside outs of each line manager. That's not right. We've set ourselves up for failure, right? Even before we began, because we haven't communicated. Who communicates the best in the organization? How do you think we should do it? Any experience here?
So we started with the MD setting up that communication with why, what's the objective, and end result.
Excellent.
And then the leaders there, second level the team heads, and then it goes to the individual manager.
My God. And which company do you represent?
Here's IBM.
Excellent. So, bang on there. That's the as best an academic textbook response as I could have asked for. Well, a practitioner's response. No better communicator than the line managers themselves. And which takes us back to clarify, if you recall. We engage with the line managers on what it is that we're trying to do, and then use those line managers to communicate about what the process is going to be, what the impact on them is going to be. Is it or is it not connected to progression? Does it impact compensation? Does it impact peer reviews? What does it do? That communication can best be done by line managers. HR does not do that communication, should not do that communication. HR should design that communication, really. So that's my second C, clarify, communicate. And the third one is the competencies. How many of you have competencies of your own companies? Competency frameworks? That's, I think, about a quarter, 20% of the group. The others who don't, please don't run any assessment centers without first getting your own competencies. Don't go buy a consulting firm giving them to you. Don't go by picking it up off textbooks or anything else. What is the reason for that? Competencies, whatever you may call them eventually, form the basis for what you are going to do in the assessments, right? What we have agreed on is that competencies are those behaviors that will determine success for people in the company. If you have the wrong competencies to start with, or they haven't been validated in the organization, you're headed into using the wrong set of criteria and not knowing if you're going anywhere towards success. Your validity is going to be on big fat zero, right? You might as well not have done it. You might as well have gone with judgment of the line managers. Those assessment centers are absolutely of no consequence. So a lot of job analysis needs to go in. Internal data needs to go in before you can. Even if you choose to use an external model, that's fine. But that model has to be validated within the context of the client company, irrespective of whatever assessment process you may look at. So these three are the pre-design, pre-launch of your leadership assessment, leadership potential assessment process. Can we just clarify those three again? Clarify, communicate, competencies. So those are my 3 C's. Let's move now to the actual execution of assessments for leadership potential. Now the operating line here is leadership potential, not actually assessment centers. So leadership potential you may want to assess at which levels? Across levels, right? Should you be using the same process across levels as well? So Should we be using the same kind of assessment centers across levels? No. That's again a very common mistake that we make. I as a consultant would love it. It means business, right? So you don't need to necessarily use a tank if you can do with a gun, right? So it's the same concept. Do we always need assessment centers? No, we don't. It's a function of a lot of variables that are interplaying within the organization. First one, what your outcome is. You want a quick and dirty measure. You only want to identify training and development needs, not necessarily place bets on potential going forward. Do you really want such a complex assessment? No. But you want to think about who your CEO succession is likely to be, who are likely to be part of your CEO successor group. Would you take a risk with that? You wouldn't, right? So you would do a very complex process because your stakes are very high. So what you want to achieve, how much budget you have, how much time do you have, how much complexity is the organization able to deal with, all of these factors need to be considered before you actually go into the process design. So the process design element, the first one that you should consider is how much high-tech can you go and how much high-touch do you need to go, right? Use technology to your advantage. So visualize a 2x2 matrix with high-touch on one side and high-tech on the other. It's actually a very small group of people within the organization for whom you would need the top quadrant kind of assessment centers, which is high-tech and high-touch, right? So think about what kind of application do you really have, and therefore how complex should your design really be. So that's process design. The second one is the process execution itself. So we follow a methodology at SHL that we created many years ago, which we call the ORS methodology. Observe, record, classify, and evaluate. I won't go into the details of it right now, but fundamentally if your assessment partners or internal assessors are not following a methodology which is along these lines, again your validity is going to be low because you are not necessarily going through the whole process as effectively. So you as process owners need to make sure that this is being implemented well and truly. The other bit that you need to take care of in process execution is tools. Are they validated, or did some brand new MBA graduates of last year sit and create them the previous night before the assessment center? What really happened? They may look just fine, but have they been validated? And how many HR people today ask that question? Not too many even today from what we find. So that's the other bit. Assessors, have they been trained? How much training have they undergone? Both in assessments as well as in the entire process of giving feedback, even more than assessments. What's their credibility with line managers as assessors for them? So again, that's a very critical element. So we've covered process design, process execution. Third is process feedback. Nothing is more important than the feedback. There's a misnomer that in assessment centers you don't need to do feedback. Not at all true. There is absolutely nothing in today's day and age that you do in an organization where you collect data from the individual. You owe it to that person to give it back to that individual. Do it briefly, do it in a complex way, don't, or do coaching after that, it doesn't matter. But you have to close the loop with the individual. Ideally, even if they are external candidates, we should be doing that. That's what the world is moving towards. If you have asked someone to take a questionnaire for 30 minutes to assess fitness for your organization, you owe it to them to give them back the feedback on whether you didn't make it or made it and for what reasons and what their competencies were. You owe it to people to give feedback. So that's very, very critical. And again, you need to ensure that the people you have who will be giving this feedback are absolutely up there in terms of skills and experience to be able to give feedback. So that's the three process elements. Can someone repeat them with me? Process design, process execution, process feedback. All those three processes were added only because I needed 3 P's to make you remember it. So, bear with me for that. Now the third component, which is really what I'm most passionate about. How much time do I have? Just 5 minutes?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. So one to each of those. The most important thing that we talk about today is what is potential and what does it constitute of. in organizations today, we find when I work with clients, often performance and potential get mixed up. Line managers treat performance as, he's done really well, let's promote him. He'll be a lousy people manager possibly because he hasn't had that experience yet, right? How do we differentiate between that? So very quickly, without going into too much detail, there are three components that you must consider, right? This is the three-dimensional part of decision making. My first D really is decisions, right? It's decision time. How do you take those decisions? They should come from three things. Performance within the organization, behavior within the organization, I'll explain that in a minute, and potential as coming in from assessment centers or development centers. What is performance? That's the what of it, right? The lag measures, if you like. Have you met your sales numbers? Have you got number of insurance policies? Whatever it is that you set out for your people to achieve. Those are the lag measures. Behavior tells me how that performance was achieved. Two sales guys, one great people manager, one lousy people manager, both have similar results. Who are you going to root for? The better people manager, right? Long term? Easy enough? But not easy enough when it comes to organizations actually capturing this data. So you got the performance, you need the behavior. How was that performance achieved? Same set of competencies you need that you are now going to use in the third part, which is potential, which is through your assessment centers, how much ever complex or simple that they may be. So your decisions must come as a result of each of these three. Performance, behavior, potential. Different combinations of these. Today is not the time and place. I'm happy to chat later about how to use each of these three. You may actually need someone with moderate performance, great behavior and super potential as compared to somebody who has great performance today but somewhat suboptimal behavior and somewhat suboptimal potential, right? So those are the three pillars of your decisions post development centers. The second piece is development. I would be very happy if you did a somewhat shoddy job of your assessment centers and focused on development. The single largest grouse that line managers have today is that HR people run these centers and then do nothing about them. Don't run those centers. Do a very simple assessment process. Go high tech, don't do high touch at all. Save your HR budget and please focus on the development, which is way more powerful and impactful for the individual to be able to deliver better, right? And the third piece really is demonstrate the results, which takes us back to the first element, remember clarity of thought. If we don't know what it is that we had set out to achieve, you will never be able to demonstrate results in the last point that I'm talking about. What was the validity of your process? You don't always need to go through a very statistically robust and complex process to demonstrate validity. It could be something as simple as number of people you reduced hiring from outside because you have a better pipeline internally. Or something as simple as engagement levels going up relatively because you are treating your high potentials much better. Demonstrate those results and then communicate them back to the business. Is that okay? So can we just go through the 3 Ds again? Decisions, development, demonstrate results. That's pretty much it, and I'll be happy to chat with you further at the back in the cafe, as the chair calls it, and look forward to more of that. Thank you.